Imagine stepping into your bathroom after a long day. The once pristine porcelain bathtub now stares back at you dull, yellowed, stained with rings that no amount of scrubbing seems to touch. You've tried the sprays, the gels, the scrubs, promising miracles. Hundreds of dollars later, the yellow remains. Or worse, you've called in the pros who quote $400, $600, even $800 to refinish it, with a fresh coat of paint that will crack and peel in a few years anyway. But what if a single powder, costing less than $1, could strip away that yellow haze and restore the tub to a brilliant, factory-fresh snow white? Not a temporary cover-up, not a surface shine that fades by next week. A deep, permanent restoration that reveals the original gleam hidden beneath decades of buildup. That powder exists. It has existed for generations. Professionals have quietly relied on it for over a century, yet most homeowners have never heard its name. That is not an accident. Welcome to Flora Craft Garden, where we unearth the simple, powerful systems our ancestors trusted knowledge, quietly pushed aside in the name of convenience, profit, and progress. To understand this powder, we must travel back thousands of years to a time when people lived closer to the rhythms of the earth and its plants. Picture the rolling hills of ancient Europe around 1000 BC. Tribes gather wood sorrel's small green leaves with a sharp lemon-like tang. They crush the leaves and stems, extracting a potent juice. This isn't just for flavoring wild game or preserving food. They use it to brighten fabrics, to remove stubborn marks from tools forged in fire, to restore the luster to metal ornaments passed down through generations. Further east, in the valleys where rhubarb grew wild, Chinese healers and farmers noticed something remarkable. The leaves and roots held a natural acid that could dissolve mineral crusts and lift deep-set stains from clay vessels and stone surfaces. They called upon these plants not only for medicine, but for keeping their living spaces pure, bright, clean, free of the dulling films left by hard water and smoke from open hearths. By the time of the Romans, around 100 AD, this knowledge had spread. Bathhouses, the pride of every city, featured massive marble and early porcelain-like surfaces. Slaves and attendants prepared pastes from sorrel and other oxalate-rich plants to keep the baths gleaming white. A yellowed bath was unacceptable in a culture that valued hygiene and beauty as signs of civilization. The acid worked by reaching into the microscopic pores, binding to the iron and calcium deposits that caused discoloration, and carrying them away when rinsed. It didn't mask the problem. It dissolved the cause. Centuries later, in medieval monasteries and village homes across England and France, housewives kept dried sorrel or rhubarb leaves on hand. When iron pots turned rusty or linen yellowed from age, they soaked them in the extracted liquid. The results were reliable, repeatable, and required no expensive imports. This was everyday wisdom, passed mother to daughter, part of a self-reliant life where solutions came from the garden, not the market stall. The science behind it is elegantly simple. Once you see it clearly, yellowing in bathtubs doesn't come from dirt alone. Hard water leaves behind calcium and magnesium films. Soap scum builds layers of fatty residues. Most damaging of all, tiny particles of iron from pipes or well water oxidize into rust stains that embed themselves into the porcelain surface. These create that persistent yellow or brown haze. Modern chemical cleaners often rely on bleach or harsh alkalis. They may lift surface grime, but leave the embedded minerals untouched. Many simply coat or temporarily bleach the top layer, only for the yellow to return stronger within weeks. This ancient powder derived from oxalic acid, the same compound concentrated in rhubarb leaves and wood sorrel, works differently. It is a chelating agent. In plain terms, it grabs onto those metal ions like a claw, forming a water-soluble complex that rinses away completely. One application can remove years of buildup in under 30 minutes. It penetrates the microscopic pits in the enamel without eating away the surface itself when used properly. Professionals have measured it as 5 to 10 times more effective than common household acids for iron-based stains because it targets the chemistry of rust directly. Compare it to today's heavy-duty sprays. Many contain solvents and fragrances that evaporate quickly, leaving residue. This powder leaves nothing behind but the original white. No film, no recurring rings. The restoration holds because the underlying cause, the mineral and metal deposits, is gone. Word of this power traveled far. By the 1700s, European textile workers used purified forms to bleach straw hats and fine linens to a crisp white that dyes would cling to perfectly. Sailors on long voyages carried barrels of sorrel extract to keep brass fittings bright against salt air. In colonial America, homesteaders revived the old plant-based methods when store-bought soaps failed against well water stains. Then something changed. In the mid-1800s, a chemist in Indianapolis named George William Hoffman was cooking rhubarb in his kitchen. He noticed the pot, long tarnished, came out sparkling after the meal. Curious, he isolated the active compound, oxalic acid. By 1882, he had formulated a simple powder and began selling it to local bars to polish their brass rails. Tavern owners raved. They called it barkeeper's friend. The name stuck. For decades, this powder sat on shelves in hardware stores and general stores across America and beyond. Housewives and maintenance men used it quietly for sinks, tubs, tile, anything that needed restoring to bright white. It was cheap, effective, and required no fancy tools. But in the years after World War II, particularly around the 1950s, the landscape of home care shifted dramatically. The rise of mass-produced chemical cleaners flooded the market. Companies invested heavily in advertising new sprays and liquids, convenient, brightly packaged, scented to smell like freshness. These products promised ease but often delivered only surface results. Meanwhile, the professional refinishing industry grew. Why sell a homeowner $1's worth of powder when you could charge hundreds to sand, prime, and spray a new coating over the old surface? The old powder didn't disappear. It simply stopped being talked about in the mainstream. Hardware stores stocked it, but without the multi-million-dollar ad campaigns of the new brands. Refinishers continued to use it as a critical first step, stripping the yellow and stains thoroughly before applying their expensive epoxy or acrylic topcoats. They knew the truth. Without that deep clean, the new finish would fail faster. Yet they rarely mentioned the powder to customers. Why would they? It solved the problem too well, too cheaply. This wasn't some grand conspiracy plotted in secret rooms. It was economics and convenience at work. An industry built around replacement and refinishing had little incentive to promote a solution that let people keep and restore what they already owned. Dependency replaced self-reliance. The knowledge faded into the background, buried not by law, but by louder voices and shorter attention spans. Today, that shift matters more than ever. Our water is harder in many places, loaded with minerals from aging pipes and treatment plants. We spend more on bottled cleaners and professional services, while our homes show the wear. Yellowed tubs don't just look old, they signal hidden buildup that can harbor bacteria and make cleaning routines feel endless. In an era of rising costs for food, energy, and repairs, every dollar saved on maintenance counts. Every act of restoring what we have, instead of replacing it, reclaims a piece of independence. This powder connects us back to that older way of living where problems had natural, accessible answers if you knew where to look. You won't find elaborate rituals here. The possibility is straightforward. Hardware stores and online suppliers still carry pure oxalic acid crystals or ready-formulated powders based on the same chemistry. A small amount, mixed correctly with water into a paste or solution, applied to a damp tub, left to work, then rinsed thoroughly, can reveal astonishing results. Professionals have relied on the exact same approach for generations. But the real power isn't in one bathroom fix. It's in remembering that many of the challenges we face, dull surfaces, stubborn stains, creeping dependency on expensive fixes, have roots in forgotten knowledge, simple compounds from plants, time-tested reactions, systems that empowered ordinary people to care for their own spaces without constant outside help. What else has been quietly set aside in the rush toward the new and the convenient? What other powders, plants, or principles from our ancestors could restore not just a bathtub, but a deeper sense of control over daily life? The yellow in your tub isn't just discoloration. It is a reminder Beneath it lies something bright, original, and reclaimable, if you choose to look. The archives of human ingenuity are far from empty. They wait for those willing to dust them off. Until next time, keep seeking the roots that were never truly lost.